Well, hello, America, and welcome to Friday. I've got a few things to go over with you. We have one thing about a Black Swan banking event that is happening right now that you should be aware of. I want to get the full perspective, but I wanted to talk to an expert. Carol Roth is going to be joining me here in just a few minutes. And I also, good for you. You found this video because the algorithm's not helping you find this video because we've been censored. And no. Facebook, go zuck yourself. Oh, man. Oh, that is prime. Oh, you got to send that one to the vice president. She'll love it. Especially if I wrap it up in a yellow school bus. First, let me tell you about our sponsor. It's My Patriot Supplies. When it comes to stocking up on emergency food, which you might want to, I don't know. Let's talk to Carol first. Is this it? You should be prepared for anything and everything. In particular, you should be prepared to be taking a shower and all of a sudden a spaceship flies out of your butt. Normally, I would say that can't happen. But today, I don't know. Maybe. MyPatriotSupply.com. Go there now, stock up on their 3-month emergency food kit. You also get $200 worth of survival gear as a free bonus. You don't know if a spaceship is going to fly out of your butt. I highly doubt it. But will you regret not being prepared for that? MyPatriotSupply.com. $200 bonus comes with each of the food kits, so everybody in your family can be prepared. Hurry, the offer is only good while the supplies last. You will sleep better at night. Not with the spaceship thing, because that'll keep you away. But you'll be prepared for anything. With MyPatriotSupply.com, score free shipping. All right. We've been censored. Yeah. Facebook let us know yesterday that I said something that I shouldn't have said. Because it was a half-truth. Half-truth. So it's half false. The geniuses, the saints, the people who are the guardians of truth at PolitiFact have spoken from their massive mountain, and they took the stone tablets and showed it to us yesterday. Glenn Beck lied. And so Glenn Beck, and now apparently all the shows on the Blaze have got to be throttled. We have to pay a price because I will not apologize for what I said. What is wrong with me? What I talked about this week when I was talking to Tucker Carlson, Stu and I were on the air and we were talking about Ray Epps. Gee, it just seems weird, doesn't it? The guy is a member of the Oath Keepers. Okay, I think he's like a, I don't know, head Grand Dragon or whatever they are. Oath Keepers, okay? He's with them, which I've learned from the Southern Poverty Law Center, that is an extraordinarily dangerous group. Probably one of the most dangerous until there's another one that's more dangerous than that. But that won't lessen the danger of the Oath Keepers. No, it won't. It's dangerous. I learned it from the Southern Poverty Law Center. The place where one of their attorneys was arrested for being part of a riot and just trying to burn down a new police building. That's all. But they know, and don't question them. So here's the thing. He was a member of the Oath Keepers, definitely not an FBI guy. He was caught on videotape inciting a riot, which I'm pretty sure is a crime. He was inciting a riot, not on one videotape, but 2 videotapes that I know of, okay? And then he lied under oath to the January 6th committee. He said, I wasn't there at that time. I was already on my way to the hotel. Even though now Tucker Carlson shows the tapes. No, he wasn't. He was there. He was there. So he lied to the committee. Oh, and one other thing, small detail. He texted his nephew and said, hey, you see the riot that's going on? I orchestrated it. So I talked about that. And I said, why is this guy suddenly just getting a puff piece on how great he is in the New York Times? Is it possible that maybe he's done some work with the FBI or CIA or I don't know who? I always thought that was crazy when people said, CIA was involved in the killing of Kennedy. Shut up. Shut up. Now I feel a little foolish because I've defended the CIA, and only to come out just here recently that the CIA did have Lee Harvey Oswald on the payroll. Boy, don't I feel stupid all of a sudden. Now, that doesn't mean they knew he was going to kill Kennedy. I'm not saying that. But I'm not saying it either. Oh, my gosh, I should be banned. Anyway, so we brought this up, and I said, why is this guy not in jail? Something's fishy there. And because, as Fact Check pointed out, when he was testifying under oath, he said, oh, I was just kidding. I didn't mean that when he wrote that thing. Oh, well, see, you didn't give me that information. You know, in the same testimony where he was lying about not being someplace, he told the truth, according to PolitiFact, that he didn't really mean that. Oh, okay. Well, gee, there's a lot of things that people have said that, no, like Sarah Palin, I'm targeting this district. Oh, my gosh. She's going to blow it up. She wants people to die. She's going to take rifles and shoot people. We got to get her. No, I didn't mean that. It doesn't matter. You're a madman. So I would just like to tell Facebook, because they demanded that I apologize. Otherwise, I would be, I don't know, in Facebook prison. So we won't be seeing each other for a while until I'm a jailbird, until I fly out of that cage. But I really don't give a flying crap because I have you. That is exactly why we invented the Blaze. It's why I built this network, and you helped do it. If you're a subscriber, we have to know that we can reach you, and we serve you. I don't serve our sponsors like this. I don't count on my sponsors because I know they can go away quickly with enough pressure. I count on you, and if I'm not doing my job, if I haven't given you anything this week or this month that's worth the price of a cup of coffee at Starbucks, what is that, like $400 now? If we're not doing enough work for you to pay for that cup of coffee, then you shouldn't subscribe. But if I've given you anything this week alone on energy, what we've researched and found with the Inflation Reduction Act, then could I ask you to subscribe? Because, they're not fooling around. The hammers are starting to come our way. Oh, and did you hear this week? Gosh, I didn't mean this to be such a big deal. I had no idea that just buying the biggest private collection of Roe versus Wade papers, I mean, the whole case from the woman who was the lead attorney, I bought all those papers. I had no idea that they would be upset about that. So they are. So subscribe, BlazeTV.com. There's a promo code at the bottom of the screen. Will not be censored for $20 off. We're counting on you. Okay, so now I am supposed to believe that Tucker Carlson is evil because he somehow or another edited these videotapes. Here's Tucker.
Democrats and some Republicans criticize Fox News' Tucker Carlson after the cable news personality used his primetime program to air selectively edited clips from more than 40,000 hours of security footage on January 6th that was granted by House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Carlson falsely depicted it as mostly peaceful, calling rioters sightseers who were meek and revered the Capitol. But more than 300 of them have been charged with assaulting police officers, like Winston Pingjan.
It is offensive to me and my former fellow officers.
Well, that's crazy. I didn't realize that Tucker Carlson was given 4,500 hours of tape, and then he went in and he carefully selected and edited that tape. I thought when I was watching him, I was watching all 4,500 hours because that's what we got from the other side, right? Or did they also carefully select and edit the clips? In fact, I'll go you one further. The left not only carefully selected and edited the clips, they added sound effects. Wow. You know, at my place, and I'm not a journalist. I'm a blowhard. In fact, I found out this week, again, I'm a racist blowhard who probably hates Jews, too. Anyway, if somebody would have sent me any tape and it was selectively edited and they added sound that wasn't there and then didn't tell me, or if they had a tape of a senator running from the Capitol and about 3 seconds before he runs, you see the rest of the Senate run, I'd fire that person. Yeah, even if it helped my side, I'd fire them. But they don't seem to do that on the left. Oh, I love that guy. Here's Kinzinger on CNN talking about the selective editing.
And you see what Tucker Carlson does. He takes I could take footage from World War II and find like a little piece of that and convince somebody it's the moon landing, because you can find anything.
I thought about, look at like Vietnam. You know, there's plenty of footage of Marines and soldiers at their bases, hanging out in Saigon, in off time. I mean, you can take video of anybody in the course of a day when something is not happening. And then if you can't say that the Vietnam War wasn't violent and people weren't getting killed, I mean, it's ridiculous.
Anderson, shame on you. Shame on you. You're smarter than that. You can't edit in things that didn't happen. Okay, if the good senator was running down the hallway and indeed truly was the only guy, I can't manufacture some kind of grouping like, hey, let's go refilm this and put all these other people in, and we'll put it right in the front of that so it'll give it a whole different appearance. You selectively edited. He was expanding that. He was then following people like the guy with the horns. We've seen the footage of him being crazy in the House or the Senate chamber. We've seen that. What we didn't see was, how did he get in? How did he get in? We still haven't seen that. I don't know. Did he break a window? I don't know. But I do know he was escorted by the police. That makes me question things. My gosh, these people are so unbelievably dishonest. And you know what? I don't think some people mean it anymore. I don't think some of my friends, well, not my friends, but people I know. All right, one guy that I know, I don't think he has a bad heart. I think he just doesn't watch anything else but CNN. And he watches CNN and he's like, that's the truth. Yeah, that's the truth. And then when he hears something else, he'll only hear a clip and he's like, that's a lie, because I know this is the truth. And he has no intellectual curiosity. I have curiosity. I want to know the truth one way or another. I really don't like believing that our FBI was involved in any of this. But there seems to be a lot of things out there that kind of make you wonder. So let's stop with the conspiracy theories. Just get it out. I mean, if the CIA hired Lee Harvey Oswald, which we now know is true, what was he doing? Did they know about him there in Dallas? I'm not saying that they conspired to kill the president, but I'm really not saying that either. Look what they did to Donald Trump. John F. Kennedy hated the arms race, wanted to end all of that. Military-industrial complex is probably pretty powerful, especially when you combine it with the NSA and the CIA and all of the rest. Okay, so we have that. Now, I'm supposed to accept the news from, the big important networks like ABC, because ABC's producer produced the film from January 6th for the committee, and he's the one who added the sound effects, but he's above reproach, even though just a couple of years ago, we had this leaked from ABC. Remember?
I've had the story for 3 years. I've had this interview with Virginia Roberts. We would not put it on the air. First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. This is a stupid story. Then the palace found out that we had her whole allegations about Prince Andrew and threatened us a million different ways. We were so afraid we wouldn't be able to interview Kate and Will that also quashed the story. And then Alan Dershowitz was also implicated in it because of the planes. She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton, we had everything. I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail, and now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking had all of it. I'm so pissed right now. Like, every day I get more and more pissed because I'm just like, oh my God, what we had was unreal. Other women backing it up. Hey, yep. Brad Edwards, the attorney, 3 years ago, saying there will come a day when we will realize Jeffrey Epstein was the most prolific pedophile this country has ever known. And I had it all 3 years ago.
You remember what happened to Amy? No, neither do I. But I do remember what happened to the person that supposedly leaked that footage to the press. They were fired, not at ABC, at CBS, even though it turned out they didn't leak it. By the way, we also had somebody testify this week or last, or came out in a story from MSNBC. They were a host, and they said something bad about Hillary Clinton, and they were told, don't do that again. Everything about the Clintons needs to go through the president of NBC. That's something Roger Ailes never told me I had to do with anyone on any side. Okay, so we don't believe them. They think that you buy into everything, and I think they have hypnotized a lot of people. Now watch this. This is from the Capitol this week. This is about the Twitter files, and Michael Schellenberger is testifying, and they are doing everything they can to discredit anybody that was part of the Twitter file release. Elon Musk took all of the information, sent it to these two journalists. Now these journalists are not journalists. They're not journalists. Glenn Greenwald, a guy who was adored by the left. Now, he's not even a journalist. Matt Taibbi, please, he's a journalist. And Michael Schellenberger, watch what happened.
I'll move on. And I wanted to ask Mr. Schellenberger the same question, sir. When did you first visit with or get contacted by Mr. Musk?
I'm not going to reveal my sources, but like I said, I was invited by Barry Weiss.
I'm not asking for sources, sir. I'm just asking for chronology. When did you first make contact with Mr. Musk?
I don't know the exact date.
Was it?
It was December. It was December.
December of, well, there's a lot of Decembers in
December
history.
of last year.
1812.
Which December?
December of last year, ma'am.
Last year, the 22?
Yes.
All right. Now, in your discussion, in your answer, you also said that you were invited by a friend, Barry Weiss?
My friend Barry Weiss.
So this friend works for Twitter, or what is her?
Oh, good God.
She's a journalist.
Sir, I didn't ask you a question. I'm now asking Mr. Schellenberger a question. Please
Yes, ma'am. Barry Weiss
interrupt.
is a journalist.
I'm sorry, sir?
She's a journalist.
She's a journalist. So you work in concert with her?
Yeah.
Do you know when she first was contacted by Mr. Musk?
I don't know.
You don't know. So you're in this as a threesome?
There was many more people involved than that.
There was many more people involved with that. Are you being paid to be here today, either through consulting fees,
No,
campaign contribution to your next
not.
run?
Gentlelady's
Absolutely
time
You have an interview scheduled after
time
this
is
hearing?
expired.
Please call me to a hearing. Please testify. Ask me to testify in anything. Please. Because I've got a lot to say to people like that. So she's discrediting, they were in a threesome. No. So you're saying it was an orgy? Oh my God. Clueless people, clueless. All right. So you have people, and this is what they're trying to disprove, that the federal government influences or tries to influence any kind of social media or any company to silence the voice of people. At the same time this threesome crazy conversation is going on, Chuck Schumer is making this speech.
I don't think I've ever seen a primetime cable news anchor manipulate his viewers the way Mr. Carlson did last night. I don't think I've ever seen an anchor treat the American people and American democracy with such disdain. And he's going to come back tonight with another segment. Fox News should tell him not to. Fox News, Rupert Murdoch, tell Carlson not to run a second segment of lies. You know it's a lie. Rupert Murdoch, who has admitted they were lies and said he regretted it, has a special obligation to stop Tucker Carlson from going on tonight now that he's seen how he has perverted and slimed the truth, and from letting him go on again and again and again. Not because their views deserve such opprobrium, but because our democracy depends on it.
Our democracy depends on silencing people. That is really interesting because you don't ever do that. Well, you did it there on the same day the other hearing was, but you don't do that. It's just wrong. By the way, did Tucker actually air the second part? Or did he come back on Tuesday and just recap what he did on Monday? I wonder, was that effective? Did they actually silence Tucker? I'm going to have to call him and ask him. That would be unusual, wouldn't it be? All right, let me take you to this. There was another hearing this week. This is not new news. You've heard this. We showed this to you, proved it. We showed you the documents 2 years ago. But no, it was a conspiracy theory. You couldn't talk about the lab leak, the Wuhan lab leak. Well, you can't say those things. We would be censored. We were censored. We were censored. Okay. So what's weird is the former CDC director, Robert Redfield, brought up at a hearing this week, there were 3 really weird things with Fauci and the lab leak theory. Watch.
I will say, if you go back and look, it's declassified now, and I'm sure you'll all have your classified briefings, but the declassified information now, in September of 2019, 3 things happened in that lab. One is they deleted the sequences. It was highly irregular. So researchers don't usually like to do that. Second thing they did was they changed the command and control of the lab from the civilian control to the military control.
Told you that too.
Highly unusual, and I've been involved in dual-use labs when I was in the military. And the third things they did, which I think is really telling, is they let a contractor redo the ventilation system in that laboratory.
Oh my gosh.
So I think clearly there was strong evidence that there was a significant event that happened in that laboratory in September.
That is so weird. That is so weird because that's exactly what I told you. And I said, I can't draw any conclusions other than I'll bet this was really unusual because it seems like something that would happen if you had a lab leak. Here's the former head of the CDC verifying highly unusual. But when I said it, it was a conspiracy theory. You see what happens? They drag this out by saying, no, that's not true. No, that's not. They discredit not just themselves, but they discredit the truth tellers, the people who are actually trying to tell the truth. If I get it wrong, I will admit to you I got it wrong. But what's happening is they're just buying time. And as I will show you with Carol Roth here in a minute, time is running out. Here's the thing I need to tell you before we go to Carol. The new budget will bring our debt to $51 trillion. $51 trillion. That's $20 trillion of extra debt from this one budget that they're trying to pass now, and they are telling you that it's fine. That's $20 trillion of debt by 2033. Okay? 2033, and that's not a spending problem. And what are they spending it on? I'm going to show you in a couple of weeks. It is ungodly what they just did. Ungodly. I showed you some of it in the Inflation Reduction Act this week on the Wednesday night show. Do you really think they care about you? Let me give you a very poignant example of how little they actually care about the people on the ground and individuals. They don't care. The reason why you want government as close to the people is because if they are in some far distant land, they don't care. Let the people eat cake. We've got a plan. We're executing it. And they don't listen to the people. Watch this from Afghanistan this week.
He was spotted somewhere from noon to 1 p.m. by myself, then Sergeant Charles Schilling, and another. The anomaly in the crowd, who was clean-shaven and fit the description exactly, traveling with an older gentleman. The individual was consistently and nervously looking up at our position through the crowd. The older of the two wore a black silky hijab that was covering his face most of the time. They both had obvious mannerisms that go along with who we believed him to be. They handed out small cards to the crowd periodically, and the older man sat calmly and seemingly coached the bomber. Over the communication network, we passed that there was a potential threat and an IED attack imminent. This was as serious as it could get. I requested engagement authority while my team leader was ready on the M110 semi-automatic sniper system. The response, leadership did not have the engagement authority for us. Do not engage. I requested for the battalion commander, Lieutenant Colonel Brad Whited, to come to the tower to see what we did. While we waited for him, psychological operations individuals came to our tower immediately and confirmed the suspect met the suicide bomber description. He eventually arrived and we showed him our evidence, the photos we had of the two men. We reassured him of the ease of fire on the suicide bomber. Pointedly, we asked him for engagement authority and permission. We asked him if we could shoot. Our battalion commander said, and I quote, "I don't know," end quote. Myself and my team leader asked very harshly, "Well, who does? Because this is your responsibility, sir." He again replied he did not know, but would find out. We received no update and never got our answer. Eventually, the individual disappeared. To this day, we believe he was a suicide bomber. We made everyone on the ground aware. Operations had briefly halted, but then started again. Plain and simple, we were ignored. About 17:30, Staff Sergeant Darren Hoover, friend and mentor, came to get me from the tower to go help find an Afghan interpreter in the crowd. 10 minutes passed. Then a flash and a massive wave of pressure. I'm thrown 12 feet onto the ground, but instantly knew what had happened. I opened my eyes to Marines dead or unconscious, lying around me.
They don't care about people. They care about their agenda. America is supposed to care about the individual. But we're in this collective dream now that always leads to very dark things. All right, I'm going to go to Carol here in a second. I'm going to give you an update on something that has happened that you should be aware of. I hope it's just a small example of how things will eventually come undone, but I don't know. We know three things that come from China: communism, lab-created diseases. Yeah, I can say that now. And most of our medicine. Does it bother you at all? At all? What have we learned? Why are we not correcting these things? All of us know the truth. China has its hand on the faucet, and if they decide to close up for any reason, we could see massive medicine shortages in this country. A big part of being prepared for whatever is coming down the road is making sure that you have what you need, the necessary medicines you think you can't get. This is where the Jace case comes in, and I have to tell you, I love this product. I think you will too. The Jace case from Jace Medical. Great way to keep yourself prepared for the worst. It is a pack that has 5 different courses of antibiotics that you can use to treat a long list of bacterial illnesses, things like respiratory infections, sinusitis, skin infections, and a lot more. It is a great way to be ready for anything, whether a camping trip and somebody gets sick or shortages. Perfect for all of it. Don't get caught unprepared. Go to jacemedical.com. Enter the promo code Beck at checkout for your discount on the order. Promo code Beck at jasemedical.com. Carol.
Glenn, happy Friday.
Yeah. This is the last time I'm going to look at the news for 2 days, so I'm good. So right as I was getting off the air today, somebody handed me a story, and And I got a story from a couple of days ago that said people in Silicon Valley are being told, hey, there's something going on with Silicon Valley Bank, which is a huge investment bank. And you really got to get your money out of there. And so some people started, and then kind of became a run on the bank, and the bank needed to get some extra financing. Nobody wanted to step up, so that bank looks like it's going down. And now it is spreading to 4 other banks. How much do we need to worry about this, Carol?
So I would say, like anything else, you want to not panic, but be prepared for potential contagion in the financial services arena. Silicon Valley Bank is, by bank standards, a smaller bank, but it is not a small bank. The Financial Times just reported that now that it's closed, and all of this, by the way, is happening real time. So this is real time information that we're unpacking here. That is the second largest bank failure in U.S. history, per the Financial Times, after the 2008 collapse of Washington Mutual. And this basically, even though it had been put in motion by the Fed over the past couple of years, really came undone in a very short period of time. And, same as it ever was with the Fed, there is a great consolidation that happens from their policy. Mm-hmm. The small players become weaker based on the back of their policy, and it ends up benefiting and consolidating with the bigger players. So now, that's kind of what we have going on here.
I understand that the FDIC has created a deposit insurance national bank. What does that mean? That they're just guaranteeing the money for everybody who had money there?
Okay, so basically a couple things that we should, again, unpack here. So from Bloomberg, they are saying that at Silicon Valley Bank, north of 93% of their deposits were not insured. So they did not qualify for the FDIC because of the size of the deposit or for whatever reason. And that's one of the reasons why there was so much panic when there was, the communication that they were having liquidity issues. A number of the venture capitalists called their portfolio companies and said, listen, if you're not insured, if you're overexposed to this, do not take a risk, because that means the risk of your company. And that's what started this, quote unquote bank run that's happening. So this is a really good lesson for everybody who's watching here. If you are in the fortunate position that you have a lot of deposits with any sort of financial institution, make sure that they are FDIC insured, and make sure you have not exceeded the limit, or that you move them around to different accounts with different names on them, so that you are able to have each of those accounts covered. And not to say that it's going to not take, it may take a while for FDIC to sort this out and to get the people who are insured back their money. But the reality is that if you didn't get your money out because of what happened with this particular bank, who took a lot of deposits and put it into treasury securities and mortgage-backed securities that have lost value, that a lot of people aren't going to be getting their money back here.
Gee, I've seen this movie before.
Yeah.
So what does this mean for the average person?
So I think a couple things. One is, for the average person, again, you need to go check your accounts and check that FDIC insurance, or if you're with a credit union, they have a similar entity that does credit for credit unions, and make sure that you have that insurance. And you and I have talked about this before, Glenn. This is not a commercial, but hedge your portfolio. Make sure you've got 5 or 10% of your portfolio in alternative hard assets like gold, like precious metals, things that you can control, because what the Fed has done with policy, and we've been talking about this for a while, is creating a serious issue. And the thing that I'm most concerned about long term is that they're going to use this as a cover story for a central bank digital currency. You know exactly where I was going with this, because they're saying,
I agree with you.
There are runs runs on the bank, we can't protect that. But if, we have the currency, there will be no banks. There will be no runs on them. That's a really good reason we should get that passed through Congress. This is a very scary situation that can threaten our freedom. It threatens your wealth. So make sure that you do have a portion of your portfolio in a form factor that you can control. And ask questions, check out your financial institutions, and make sure that you have done the homework, because this is probably not going to be the only bank that fails. And these smaller, more regional banks that heavily rely on deposits, those are the ones that probably are the most at risk. But that being said, there is a possibility that this could become a global financial contagion, because the Fed's policy is creating all sorts of issues in terms of crises. We saw it in the UK with that little mini pension crisis they had, same kind of thing. They were relying on government securities. The policy is dangerous, and the Fed now has a meeting coming up, and they have to decide, are they going to control inflation, or are they going to risk more contagion to the financial system? So far, they have been saying, we'll risk the contagion, because they don't care. They're trying to consolidate that wealth with the wealthy and the well-connected, and you cannot let that happen to your personal wealth that you have worked so hard for.
I just believe, we've talked about this before, I just believe this is intentional, and I don't see us making it to the swearing in of the next president in 2025 with the U.S. dollar intact, or at least our economy intact. I mean, I think China, why would they wait for the next president when they have a gift to destroy us? I've been saying since 2008, there's going to come a time when our enemies see us at a weak point and say, go now. And I think we're there.
Well, look at the behavior of the Chinese, and we've touched on this before. They have been adding to their gold reserves for the first time in several years. The last 3 months, they have been adding. At the same time, they are shedding their treasury securities. In November of 21, they had over $1 trillion in treasury securities. November of 22, a year later, they had like $870 billion. They are lightening up on that. That means they're trying to get away from their dependency on the dollar and on the treasury securities. And oh, by the way, it was the same thing that Russia did before they invaded Ukraine. So,
Carol, will you come on next week, and can you give me, just give us a thumbnail of this crazy budget that Joe Biden is proposing? And we are arguing over the wrong things. I mean, it's insane. It is absolutely insane. And it has to be modern monetary theory. But I'd love to have you on radio for that. But before you go, one thing, I have a clip that just came out from Joe Biden. And he's talking about the economy. I'd like to get your initial reaction from this.
And now the biggest threat to our recovery is the reckless talk. My MAGA friends, this is not yours, I heard me say, it's not your father's Republican Party, but the Republicans in the United States Congress. What they want to do with regard to the debt limit. They're threatening to default on our national debt. In fact, planning to default, as some Republicans seem to be doing, puts us very much at risk. I believe we should be building on our progress, not go backwards.
Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the debt ceiling, we're never going to default. We have plenty of assets that we could sell off to, pay for this short-term debt need if we need to do so. The idea that in the short term we're going to default is a joke. The biggest threat is what the Biden administration is proposing in that budget. We're talking $7 trillion almost in spending for fiscal year 2024, which is more than was spent in either of the quote unquote COVID emergency years. And all of these proposals that are trying to kill revenue, but somehow he thinks they're going to increase revenue. At the same time, the Fed is trying to destruct demand. It's like they all are thumbing their nose at each other and just trying to decide who can completely destroy the economy first. And it's a toss-up, Glenn. Fed, government. I mean, it's a very dangerous game of chicken, and unfortunately, we're going to be the collateral damage here.
Okay, Carol, thank you. Not the way I
Have a
wanted
great
to end
weekend.
the
I know.
Yeah. But, let me end on a couple of, I got a couple of things here left that I just would like to share with you. Let's go to Kamala Harris. I mean, she's always good for a laugh. Listen to this.
I mean, one of the young leaders was talking to me about climate mental health. I said, tell me what's going on with your peers. Climate mental health. And she talked, I said, I think I understand that, but unpack it for me.
Unpack it.
And she talked about how her peers are thinking about it. One example is, whether when they're ready, could they start a family?
Yeah. Can I abort one now?
Worried about what that would mean.
What does that mean?
And the stress of it.
Oh.
They were talking about it in terms of their peers. Trying to figure out, they're going to have to get a job and they're going to have to make a living, but what can they do and how can they adapt the education that they're having now to their activism?
Right. How do I tie my job and what's being taught to my kid that isn't born yet to my activism and the mental health of being told that the earth is going to go away because we're already too late? My God, what? I'm glad I'm not a kid. I'm glad I have these because I've seen enough to know when I see those kinds of politicians, I can blow them off. It still drives me crazy, but I can blow them off. But a lot of people can't, apparently. By the way, this hair does not make you wise, as we're about to show you with Bernie Sanders.
I hear you all the time say, the rich don't pay their fair share. Now, maybe that's true of those three guys you mentioned. They are pretty rich.
They are very rich.
But I guess I'm not very rich, but I pay more than half. I mean, California is 13.3%, and the federal is 37% for people who make over $250K. I barely make a little over. Well, I work 3 jobs. What can I say?
It's that night shift that really is.
It's the driving the Uber that kills me. But, okay, so, and then there's the state and local and property taxes. Yeah. So I don't remember the last year I paid less. The government, and again, I'm philosophically kind of with you. I've always said wealth is a fluke. So I don't ever be like, I deserve all this. I mean, I did work hard, but it is kind of a fluke what we reward to make someone wealthy. So philosophically, I get it. I'm okay with giving back, but the government's taking more than half and you want more?
Well, it depends on your income level. Yeah, if you are Bezos.
More than half.
Yeah, absolutely more than. Look, the rich are getting richer. What's happening to the working class in this country? What's going on right now, and this is quite incredible in the richest country in the history of the world.
I can't take it. That has nothing to do with the poor. I'm not taking money away from poor people to have money myself. As you have just seen, we're willing to print money out the butt. So there's plenty of money. It's not like cake. I get very touchy with the cake. That last piece, that's mine. Okay? I get very touchy about that. But it's not like cake. We all can make money. What the government should do is stop meddling in things they have no idea about so we can go out and make new things and people can have ideas and start a new company. Bill Gates couldn't be Bill Gates today because of all of the regulations. According to Bill Gates, who's for even more regulations, he said, I couldn't have done in my garage what I did with Microsoft to start it. Well, that's a problem because that's how the poor get rich. That's how the middle class gets rich. Yes, all the rich are getting richer. You want to change the way income taxes are paid? Fine, but Bill Gates is not paying income tax. It's a whole different world. So, I work my ass off all day, and I have to give 55% to the government? You mean all that I bring to the table is worth less than what the government brings to the table? What? Oh, and by the way, You know, they also want to take your charitable tax giving away. So, you know, let's stop people from being generous and giving money. Let's have those charities rely on government money because they know how to spend the money the best way. Let me end with this. Imagine communism.
Imagine there's no bread. It's easy if you try. No tacos or hot sauce.